Hi, Alec here again. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'll be discussing how the successful launch of One Marina Gardens will actually negatively impact the resale market in the Marina Bay area. So if you're ready to listen, let's get into it. So 2 Saturdays ago, probably you have read from news articles, One Marina Gardens actually had a relatively successful launch. It managed to secure 30% sales on launch day itself, which is equating to about 300 plus units. And as of this morning, it has already achieved 41% in sales, which is equals to 384 units out of a total of 947 units. And this actually begs to question. I thought Marina Bay demand is not there, but with the sales performance of close to 400 people buying into One Marina Gardens, obviously there is still demand for properties in the Marina Bay area. But how come we see transaction of the resale developments within the Marina Bay area, it has been so little? Alright, so this video will actually try to dissect some of this and hopefully helping my viewers here make a better decision when it comes to property purchase. So over here, what I have is a chart of District 1 per square foot pricing since 1995 up until 2025. And I've actually labeled all the cooling measures that were introduced, as well as all the black swan events, things like the financial crisis, trade war, COVID and whatnot. I have labeled it inside the chart, and I have also superimposed into the chart properties that were launched in the Marina Bay area starting from the sale way back in year 2004, and the latest being Marina One Residences back in 2014. And I find a very interesting pattern in terms of launching. Right, as you can see, the sale Marina Bay Residences, One Shenton, Marina Bay Suites, my apologies, as well as 5 or V on Shenton were launched before 2012. Alright, and that is the era whereby there wasn't much cooling measure, or there wasn't any cooling measures, or if there were, it was actually pretty light. For example, ABSD for foreigners at maybe 5% or 10%. Right, as local but Singaporean buyers do not incur ABSD, no TDSR. Okay, so these developments, when it was launched back then, what group of buyers did they attract? And I can definitely tell you for a fact that most of them actually attracted foreign buyers as well as well-to-do local investors. And this next chart actually gives you a breakdown of the nationalities, not nationalities, in terms of whether majority of buyers are they Singaporean, are they PR, are they foreigner. And you can see majority of them are still Singaporean, but it is not to the extent of 80 to 90% like what we see in the new launches over the last couple of years. There are actually substantial proportion of buyers that are foreigners as well as companies. Alright, and because Marina Bay is actually the so-called face or the poster card of Singapore, whenever foreign investors come into Singapore to buy residential property, obviously they will look at the prime areas, and Marina Bay being one of them. And because they are what we call high net worth individuals, they tend to have higher budget and they are able to buy units that are bigger and in a way more expensive than what we can usually find in the heartlands and in the city fringes. And developers know this, alright? Hence, you can see in the Marina Bay area, all the units that were built back then tend to be bigger. You have 1-bedroom units that goes from 500 odd square feet, or maybe even studios that goes from 500 over square feet all the way to maybe 700-800 square feet in size. 2 bedrooms generally starts at around 800-900 square feet and it goes all the way to maybe 1,003 square feet in general. 3 bedrooms is in the range of around 1,005 to 1,007 square feet. 4 bedrooms is basically skies that we can go all the way up to like 2,000-3,000 square feet, or even more than that. Alright, it's relatively common in Marina Bay because we are attracting high net worth individuals from other countries to come and invest into Singapore. And you can see also the price trajectory from a per square foot perspective from 1995 all the way until 2009. The growth is phenomenal from 500 per square foot all the way to $2,000 over dollars per square foot. And because of the global financial crisis, it actually spooked a lot of people, and probably government realized this. All the way from Asian financial crisis to the global financial crisis, whenever a black swan event occurs, there is a very volatile price fluctuation. Prices can go up 100%, drop 40-50%, as you can see from the price chart here where I actually label all the ups and downs in terms of percentage. You can see it's quite volatile, very scary. You can experience drops of 40%, 30% pre-cooling measures day. So probably this is one of the reasons why government introduced 16 rounds of cooling measures since 2010 all the way until now. Right? And because of all these cooling measures that are currently in place in the market, you can see the gyrations of the pricing in terms of percentage is no longer so crazy. Prices go up probably 17%, 18%, but if it drops, it is also maybe around 10% or so. And what we have experienced, of course, this chart that I'm showing you here is only specific to District 1 in Marina Bay, and it is not overall of the Singapore chart, Singapore price. Okay, so you can see even during the era of 2018 to 2023, whereby we went through COVID, prices in Marina Bay is generally stable. This begs the question: how does OMG affect prices of all these existing launches? If you understand the harmonization effect, the entire Marina South will be home to about 10,000 new houses in time to come, with OMG or One Marina Gardens being the first. Okay, and because of all this harmonization effect, all the remaining launches will have similar footprint to sizes that you can find in OMG today. So your typical 2-bedroom is 600 odd 700 square feet, your 3-bedroom ranging around 900 square feet to 1001 square feet. Then of course 4-bedrooms generally they will build a bit bigger because 4-bedrooms caters more for I would say high net worth individuals for own stay in a way, right? But that is also usually in the tune of 1004 to maybe about 1006, 1007 square feet. The sizes are actually getting smaller due to rule changes. You see, last time we have bay windows, we have planter boxes, and then after that they do away with that, and then there's an era whereby you have giant balconies, and then they also control that. Now balconies can no longer be so big. And then the most recent, obviously, the harmonization, they exclude the footprint of the aircon latch from the overall unit size. So you will see unit sizes getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Smaller footprint of unit size, you will get lower quantum ultimately, despite experiencing higher per square foot prices. So let me give you an example. So 2-bedroom unit at 700 square feet, in today's per square foot kind of market, we are looking at maybe around 2,005 to about 3,000 PN, depending on where you are looking at, which area. But let's focus back on Marina Bay area. So for One Marina Gardens, the per square foot is around 2,009. Let's just use 3,000 for convenience sake. So a 700 square feet unit is actually will cost you about 2 to 2.1 million to buy a unit off the shelf from the developer's hand. Alright. But if you were to go and look at the resale market, you will actually see 1,200 square feet units selling maybe around 2.4 million, 2.5 million, or maybe even all the way to 2.7, 2.8 million, because 1,200 square feet, 2-bedroom, you multiply by $2,001, $2,002 per square foot, you get around 2.5, 2.6 million. And this is a phenomenon whereby you get a cheaper unit from the new launch, or you would want to prefer buying more expensive unit, bigger of course, in the resale market. And human beings being creature of new things, we would gravitate towards the newer development because ultimately it's still 2 bedrooms. But what are the difference? Of course, the older unit you get bigger bigger living room space, balcony. Obviously, some of them have bigger balconies, bigger kitchen. But then we also need to question ourselves: is it necessary to have so much living space, so big a kitchen for just a 2 bedroom unit? Because what you are targeting is actually maybe one person or 2 person at most staying in a 1 or 2 bedroom. Of course, the 3 bedrooms is something different, right? But even if you were to compare the floor plans of the 3 bedroom, actually there wasn't much differences. The only difference is, last time you have aircon ledges, you have bigger balconies. Yes, some of the rooms were bigger, but not by much as well. So ultimately, if you have something relatively similar but newer and cheaper than something that is older, which one will you go for? And this is the negative impact that I foresee will be affecting the older resale developments in Marina Bay for the many years to come, simply because they are built too big, coupled with the fact that rule changes along the way, making units smaller, so ending up with a lower price tag despite a higher per square foot point, right? Because ultimately your affordability is based on the overall price tag and not based on the per square foot. Alright, so unless we see existing owners in all these older developments willing to slash price to be around similar to what the new developments are going to do, I don't think units are going to move or fly off the shelves in that sense for all these older developments. And that is also the after effect of such a thing is you will see resale price PSF will continue to stagnate in District 1, and only the new launches will do relatively well despite higher per square foot. And ultimately, it is all back down to the price tag that you pay. You will want to buy something that is relevant in today's context based on new rulings, new measurements, new specs, rather than buy properties that are already like outdated in terms of the design, the layout, and things like that. I hope this video has shed a light or two on the situation in Marina Bay itself. And if you find this useful, do help this channel by liking and subscribing to this video so that it gets sent out to more viewers like yourself. And with that having said, see you in the next video.